Not far up the road was where it was, right off of Packleton's cliff, hidden from the road by a small wooded area. Buckden Great House. For as long as I've known it, no one has lived there. The people next door to me even owned it for a while, but could never fix it up, and ended up selling it. Structurally, the house was fine. It was an old plantation house, so it was built with 2-foot thick limestone walls. The Purple Heart floors in the living and dining room could have used a little polish, but after all these years there wasn't a single rotten floorboard. The kitchen was in working order, and with minimum work could have been upgraded to more modern standards. So what was the problem? It was upstairs. No one could really say if it was in disrepair or immaculate condition. For as long as I've known that house, no one has been able to make it past the first landing to get to the top floor. Rumor has it that there was a mass murder-suicide on the top floor of that house, and for years kids have been breaking into it to try to get to the top floor. It usually ends with the kids running out of the house at top speed. I've tried a few times. Usually you get your foot on the first step, and there's just a feeling. A very angry feeling. One that if your eyes were closed, you'd think there was someone in front of you prepared to kill you. A while back before my time, some kids were making their attempt to reach the top floor, when the kid with his foot on that first step turned and ran, pushing his friends out of the way. Unfortunately, one of them got pushed through the window and fell into the waiting mill pond below. In this case, it was not lucky that it was half full and that the water broke his fall, because he couldn't swim. His friends, unable to reach him, watched him drown. That's the second feeling you get at Buckden Great House, one of sorrow when standing on the edge of that mill pond. This house was full of surprises. The last time I was there, I set the record, 3 steps off the landing. On the first step, I was expecting that usual feeling, but this time I didn't get it. On the second step, I felt something I had never heard anyone else say they felt. It was like a warning. It was like the family who was killed there were trying to warn me. That feeling lifted quickly as I set my foot on the third step. The usual feeling arrived. But this time, it was worse than I'd felt before. Needless to say, I ran out screaming my head off. I had the whole group at the bar really into my story now. It had been a long night at the bar telling ghost stories. That was the last time I went back there. There was no way I was going to tempt fate again. Kim can confirm it. That place is horrible. I finished my story and took a swig of my beer. Has anyone else tried to get to the second floor since? Asked Germaine. Trying to be all mysterious sounding, I answered. Nah. Last I heard it had been protected by the National Trust and was boarded up. It's just sitting there waiting for a new batch of kids to try their luck with it. Germaine had walked over to the front door of the bar. The morning was just dawning, but it was still a dark hue due to the stormy weather. Perfect weather for it. Let's take a road trip. What? I replied alarmed. I'm not setting foot in that house. You don't have to. I can try for the top floor on my own. My interest was piqued now. Someone else to carry on my tale. I knew there was no way he was getting to that top floor. The house had been used to this for so many years, and was sitting there waiting. Okay, let's do this. Who else is coming? Everyone was shaking their heads. I guess my story had them all spooked. About half an hour later, I was back in my old neighborhood, and it couldn't have been more perfect of a day. It was all stormy, and misty clouds were coming over the top of Hackleton's cliff. But as I pulled off the main road into the trees, I did not expect to see what I saw. The house was gone, totally demolished. I guess not even the National Trust could beat that presence. Germaine and I walked around the site to see if we could pick up on a feeling, but it was hopeless. Even standing on the edge of the now filled-in mill pond, there was nothing. It looked like my story would have to live on in me telling it. We had to get back to the car defeated, to head back to the bar to let everyone know. As I was about to pull out onto the main road, there it was, right behind me in the car. The feeling.